All right, Dr. Tatiana Stray here, and we're going to talk about mastering the art of salary negotiations. And this is a really fun topic because there's actually real world impact and an impact to your livelihood, which has a multiplying effect. I think it's really important to talk about how to negotiate strategically. And the earlier you start implementing these strategies, the better, because every time you fail to negotiate, it actually impacts your next job. And there's really good estimates to suggest, for example, women who don't negotiate out of their MBA receive about $15,000 less in their starting salary than their counterparts who do. And over the span of a life, we're talking about at least $1 million in lost revenue. So it's very important that you do negotiate. So first of all, it's really important to challenge your assumptions about what is negotiable and what isn't. I know a lot of people, when they get into a job offer like situation, they're really worried about annoying the employer. They're worried about making it seem like it's just about money. So it's really important to unpack those mental assumptions that we have. So let's chat a little bit about what is kind of expected in the professional context, especially in North America. First of all, in North America, you're expected to negotiate your job offer. Generally, most are negotiable. Sometimes when you're starting a position and it's junior and it's very standardized, irrespective of who starts it, like at big consulting firms, then there's very little wiggle room in terms of negotiation. Everything else, 100% fair game. When we're talking about negotiations, we're not just talking about salary, we're talking about the entire package that you're negotiating. We're talking about your vacation days, your flex days. Is there a budget for professional development? When are you going to get feedback? When are conversations about promotion potentially going to be happening? Is there salary? Do you get comp? Do you get investments and stocks for your, the startup that you're participating in? So all of these things are negotiable. It's not just about the salary. And actually, there's a cost to all those non-monetary items that's really important to factor in. So when we're talking about salary negotiations, we're talking about the entire package. And it's really important for us to just get a sense of what do we care about? It's not just the bottom line, but yes, the bottom line is very important. So one is the understanding that you should be negotiating 100%. It's expected of you. Two is that everything's negotiable. And if you can't get wiggle room on price, guess what? You can get wiggle room on flex days and on stock days and on when you're talking about promotion. So you need to think of these things as total packages, and you need to think of them as interchangeable. So you need to understand, what are you willing, where do you want the wiggle room to be, and what do you really want to emphasize? Another thing that's really important is to talk about what is the pay range structure for an organization. And a lot of people don't realize, but in the back end, HR often has pay grades for these different types of positions and how they're willing to discuss them. So first of all, when they're hiring, they never want to hire at the max of a pay range, because there's no room for you to improve before going on to the next one. So there's always a bit of, you kind of want to be middle to a little towards the end, but you never actually want to max out a bracket. The other thing is, hey, you can ask about the pay bracket in the job interview when you're talking to HR. Did you know that? If not, you're welcome. It's also important to know that when they tell you their bracket of what they're willing to kind of give for a position, they're never really going to be honest with you. There's always about 10 to 15,000 in the back end where they can actually go above. And I once did a really cool exercise with individuals who had hired in my MBA class and who had worked in HR. And we did this exercise of, what was the bracket? What did you tell your candidate? And what was the real bracket? And guess what? In most cases, there was this pot of money sitting on the side that the candidate didn't know about. So you should know that. The other thing that's really interesting is, typically HR has the ability to increase the salary in the moment up to a certain amount. After a certain amount, it actually needs to be improved by higher management. So understanding that can be a really good leverage chip And I know people that have gone into salary negotiations and just said, hey, give me that amount, give me the max that you can give me before going to upper management, and they got it. So allowing yourself the flexibility and the enjoyment to be in, to kind of allow to discuss these things is really important. Another interesting thing that I'll say is when we talk about salary ranges, sometimes HR will play a game of getting you to disclose yours. And generally, I would say it's really important for you to be very informed about what is the salary expectation for someone in your position and how do you get that. Yes, you can go online, but actually better than that is go talk to people in your level or levels above at different firms or people that you might have a personal connection, and ask them. And I know there's a bit of a taboo when it comes to talking about money and salary, but actually there's no law against it, and it's only in the worker's interest to talk about salary. And it's really important because if you come from any group that's been marginalized or isn't often equally paid, such as like 50% of women, 50% that are women, it's really important for you to get actual feedback on the objective measures for a position so you can hit those. So those are just some beliefs and kind of tidbits about how do you think about talking about money when it comes to an actual negotiation in that space. So some tips for how you maximize that. So first of all, it's really important to establish a foundation of trust when you go up to negotiate. So when you're talking early on in the job interview, show them your worth, talk about the us, talk about the value that you bring to a company. Seek advice from peers about kind of what you should expect, not just for that job, but trajectory as well. So often when I coach people to think about taking jobs, you should be thinking about what is the potential for growth within a job track, and also salary wise. So when you are at any kind of fork in the road and you're thinking about, should I go, down project management or sales, think about what those positions can actually get you long term, and is there the ability to move internally to a company. It's really important to talk about the boss and really understand their aspirations, because ultimately you're kind of a tool for them to showcase their projects, and for you to understand that and any specific metrics that are important is really important for you to then grow in the firm. So make sure you hit those points in the job interview. Also document your achievements at any firm you're in, and it's really important, to the best of your abilities, quantify everything, and everything always linked to the bottom line. That's some of the best way to kind of argue your worth for a company, because ultimately you're making them a certain amount and your salary is a very small proportion of that. So those are just like really important things to document to then build your case. When it comes time for the actual negotiation, you need to do the prep work before, so you understand what's movable, what's typical, and you always want to discuss as a package. You also want to be improving your power before you actually sit down to negotiate. And what that basically means is try to have as many job offers lined up when you go to negotiate. And if something isn't solidified, keep going through the process. You never know how things are going to work out. And so it's really important, the more information you have, the more options you have, the more you'll be able to confidently talk about money in the job interview. Try to get HR to disclose numbers, and also know that when HR discloses numbers, it's not the real numbers. There's another budget that they're not sharing with you. When you talk about your worth, it's really important to ground it in statistics and numbers and facts, and in the value you bring to the company. So saying ranges and anchoring yourself based on experience is my personal favorite strategy. So you would say something like, I know in this position the range is A to B, and based on my experience I put myself here. Always speaking to the value. That's a really great way to articulate kind of what you expect. Also signal to the company that you're willing to be flexible. So I'm looking for this out of a general package. I understand you might be constraints, but it's really important for me to hit this kind of like generally. And as you negotiate, the best things for you is to have options. It's going to give you a sense of confidence and give you the ability to push. And also remember, you're negotiating on behalf of other people. So it's really important for you to max out every job offer that you have in front of you. That could be the family you represent. It could be the types of people you represent. It could be your future self, because your future self, retirement and vacations are important, and you have things you want to, do in your personal life. So always know that when you're negotiating, you're representing something. And so it's really important for you to just be the best you can be and to maximize that outcome. So those are just some tips on how to maximize the job offer and how to improve in salary negotiations. I'll definitely do a deeper dive in the future, but I think those are some really good things to start with, and some really good kind of things to get you going in how you think about these and your willingness to engage in these negotiations.